Welcome to the Building Your Career podcast. I'm your host, Dom Tarjanskis, and join us as we explore the world of construction. Each episode, we welcome a guest that shares career highlights and career advice, and hopefully inspires the next generation of construction professionals. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Building Your Career podcast. Today, I'm joined by someone that I've worked closely with before, Mary Thomas from Superior Stone. Very excited to have on as a guest. Mary, I'll give the floor to you. If you could just describe your kind of current job role and also tell us a little bit more about the company that you're working for.
I'm Mary Thomas. When I started working with Dom, I was actually the office manager for Superior Stone, which has changed in the last couple of weeks. So that's been quite a big challenge to overcome. So now I'm production manager. So my role's changed quite drastically in the last 6 weeks. So Superior Stone's a family-run company, and there's not all families, 40 of us, but there's 40 of us all together, and I'd say Superior Stone's a high-end stonemason. But anything weird and funky, we love getting involved with that sort of stuff. At the moment, we're trying to do a Batman cave swimming pool, which is probably something that everyone's really looking forward to getting involved with from start to finish. But we like challenging what stone can do, from marbles all the way through to granites and quartzites. So we see some quite interesting things come through the door.
And can you just explain to some of our listeners exactly what kind of a stone contractor does then? What kind of stuff and what kind of projects do you work on?
So we started off with, about 25 years ago, we started off just solely doing kitchens. And then we outgrew that quite rapidly, realising that wasn't the market we wanted to settle in. And then we started working towards much larger contracts, and then moved into mainly just high-end housing with some of the most prestigious clients in the world. And everything we do is through word of mouth, which is just phenomenal to be part of. And so we've worked in palaces, we've worked in very bespoke sort of items. So we like making tables, fireplaces, bathrooms, hand-carved baths, everything and anything you can think of. But that involves, at the moment, we're just finishing a bespoke staircase, which has never been done before. And every part of the team has their role to play in that, from the people involved, beginning with the designers, talking through what can happen, or we can see if what they're thinking can become something that they want, all the way through from the people tendering it and then the production team at the end, if that makes sense.
and out of interest, completely. And out of interest, how has your kind of job role changed? Because obviously you're at a new chapter in your career. How has your job role changed, and how are things in the first couple of weeks in the new job role?
The first couple of weeks are probably the hardest. You're taking on from someone who's been stuck in doing it their way, and you come in with new, fresh ideas, and trying to get everyone on board with that. Everyone here, to be fair, has been very accommodating, very willing to help me learn as much as I'm trying to help them learn how I want to do things now. But changing from a very predominant office role and moving into the warehouse side of things that's probably been the biggest challenge. You can't sit at a desk all day and work with your clients that you've been with for years. And you have to get to know your team a lot more and understand how they work and what their goals are as well, so that you know that you're taking that into mind as we're moving forward. So, it's been challenging, but a very interesting role to take over.
Brilliant. And I think that's one of the things that, a couple of our guests have said is that, no matter what position you're in the construction industry, there's always different opportunities out there. So don't think that you've always got to remain in the same position, doing the same thing for the rest of your career. There's so many different options and so many different avenues you can take in the industry. So I think you're kind of testament to that as well, really, Mary. But, if we could turn back the hands of time and go back to the very beginning of your career then, how did you kind of first get interested in the construction industry? What was it that kind of, where did you first start out?
So I finished my A levels at seven, I think it was 17 or 18 at the time, and had no real idea what I wanted to do. School wasn't the most helpful of places to give you an idea of what the next step was. It was just one morning, my dad was like, "You're coming to work with me for the day." So being 17, I was dolled up, nails, hair, everything done, and turned up with a PP that was way too large for life, and got told we're going to be doing templating today. And that was how I first got involved with working in construction, was just, we're going to site and we're doing a templating. And my first project was a facade. So that was outside on a bit of scaffolding, holding templates and levels and everything else. And I got to see all, because it was an empty building site. I got to see everything going on right from the beginning. And then that's how I got involved. I got really I fell in love with it straight away. It was something that no one else was doing around me. It wasn't an IT job. It wasn't just an office job. It was a hands-on approach to getting involved with something and seeing it progress to a bigger picture. And then that's how, and then through the stages. Oh, sorry. I just took on I grew up through it. So I started off with labouring. That was my first job on night shifts. And then I decided I wasn't meant to be a labourer, and then moved into more office roles after that, helping the teams with the pricing and talking with clients a lot more. And then I've kind of just worked my way through now to production and being on the more hands-on approach and getting things done. So yeah, I've worked on all different levels of this company anyway.
And I think that's crucial, really, is the excitement of seeing that project through right from beginning to end. So I remember when I was working in architecture, it was that very much, if I could see a project right through from beginning to an end, I felt a real sense of personal involvement with that project. And it's so much better to be able to see it right through and go, okay, I worked on that right through from beginning to end, because that's almost like your little thing. It's like your project then. So, yeah, it's quite exciting you got involved in that right from the early stages, really.
Yeah, no, I think everyone should be involved at some point, right from the beginning all the way through to the end. You do get a sense of achievement from it, and that's one thing we do pride ourselves on here, is that everyone involved gets to try, where possible, sees the finished product in place, because it's not just bits of stone going into site, it's actually like a whole process coming together. And where some of our clients are really willing to let that happen, so we arrange it with them and take the whole team in, and they can see that they're just part of a much bigger picture, which I think is really important, especially when, for subcontractors more than anything, is to see the final product all together and complete, which is something more people should be doing.
Yeah, definitely. And when it comes down to it, the finished product, you are dealing with people, you're dealing with clients, you're dealing with people who really appreciate the good skills out there in the market and good finishing. And what does it look like in the end? People get really emotional at the end of the project when they've done a good job for them. And, that always comes back, whether that be repeat business or whether that be, you get a recommendation for another client of theirs, then, it's important to take pride in the work that you do as well. So, yeah, I completely agree with you there. But if you could kind of talk to your younger self then when you first started out, and maybe give yourself just one bit of advice, what advice would you give when you first started out, if you could turn back the hands of time?
Ask more questions, and be more willing to learn, and not come at an approach where you think you know everything from the get-go, which a lot of youngsters, more than anything, well, all ages, come into this industry thinking they know everything. And if there was one thing, it would be more willingness to learn and just trying everything. If every opportunity that's given to you, just give it a go. You will have failures along the way, but you sometimes learn more from those than you do from all the wins. And that's something I would really tell my younger self, is just take more opportunities and don't be afraid of them. And that is something that everyone needs, I think, in life, is just give it a go. You've got nothing to lose.
And that's a common theme in this podcast as well, is kind of ask the questions and people will be willing to help you. And it was interesting having a trainee on the other day who said, you know, when he first started off, it was a senior site manager from BAM Construction who saw that he was interested in the project and really took him on board. He did a little bit of work on the site and really took him under your wings. So did you have any kind of one like that at the beginning of your career that you knew that you could ask questions to, or has it been kind of as you've gone along, people have just been open to you finding out a little bit more about what they do and what jobs they do in terms of friendliness in the industry?
Within the company, there was lots of people there willing to help and support and really wanted to get you involved. As construction as a whole, I feel you do need to put yourself out there and ask the questions. So if you're on site, it's more putting yourself forward. But I reckon within like our sector, especially, there are more and more people willing to teach you and help you learn and grow over time. So I think it depends. As construction is just a big, like, there's so many different trades and everything. You've just got to be in the right position at the right time to ask the question. And most people want to teach you.
Are you a job seeker, tired of endlessly scrolling through job boards with no success? Has your job search hit a dead end? Well, we're here to tell you there's another way. Here at Quest Personnel, we offer a variety of free resources to help job seekers just like you. Our team of expert recruiters is here to help you through every step of the job search process, from CV writing to interview techniques. But that's not all. We also offer exclusive access to workshops, networking events, and other job roles that you simply won't find anywhere else. So what are you waiting for? Get in touch now on our website, questpersonnel.co.uk. Yeah, most people do want to reach out and help. So, okay, that's excellent. And out of interest, I think that was kind of one of the myths that a lot of people would have in the industry is that, oh, you know, everyone's too busy to give you the time of day, or everyone's too busy to help. And if you ask questions, you might annoy people. But was there any kind of myths that you had about the industry when you first started out that simply weren't true, or any preconceived ideas that you had about, okay, well, the construction industry is obviously like this, and it just didn't happen to be that way?
When I first joined the construction industry, I'd watched my dad most of my life in the trades. So to me, it was just a male dominant area to go, and there was no space for women at that time. And unless you could build something, there wasn't much to do. But as you've learned and grow with it, you realise there's so many different people involved with this process, and that there's space for everyone. And you might not have a degree or a background in it, but you can pretty quickly get to grasp with what you can and can't do, what opportunities are there to get you more involved with things. So that can be from pricing, which people forget is also part of this, all the way through to the procurement and even just delivering things to site is a massive part of this industry as well, which there's so many different avenues into it that it's just keeping an open mindset, and there's no one out there to tell you that's probably the easiest way to do it. It's just go out talking to different people and finding out what they need and see where you can fit into that. And Excel sheets are a massive part of it, so that's a great way to start as well.
And you touched on it really briefly there in terms of the educational route. So what kind of do you think are the different options available to people who want to get involved in the industry, either going down the traditional educational route or maybe going down the trades route? What kind of options are available for the younger generation who want to kind of get involved?
I feel there could be more. I feel schools should approach it in a different aspect, approach it more like it's not a bad place to work, and IT isn't the only way you can get a career through it all. But a lot of the time is just by word of mouth, or if you see something that you're interested in, just contacting companies within that industry to see what is available or what they're looking for. And most of the time you'll find a route in one way or another. For those who don't enjoy education, word of mouth and talking to people is a way in. If you do like education, then just being willing to look into more of what's available, instead of just like each sector of the construction being its own thing. because we all mix and merge together. So I feel it depends what you're better at. If you're a more hands-on approach, is just by calling people saying, I don't mind coming in, just have a look at what you do. And more people be more happy to show you around, or sticking with education, but dig into it more and find out what you can get with a degree to get you further into the industry. So it depends on how you work.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, what's important there is to just be curious, and a lot of the directors that I speak to, it was, and yourself included, starting out as a labourer. If that's the way a lot of people learn a lot about how sites are actually set up and how sites are run, is just start as a labourer, get that experience on site. Because, I was given the example, I did 3 years of architecture at uni, and I really didn't know how things were built. It's only because I got a labouring job in the summer holidays that I actually knew how steel work went together, and I was working on a huge education project. I was like, okay, yeah, now I understand it wasn't just a drawing on a computer screen, it's real life, and you can see all the little intricate bits that go together, really. So yeah, I completely agree with you. There's lots of different options available to people out there. But for you, with the industry as it is at the moment, with a report by the CIOB coming out saying we need 250,000 more people in the UK construction industry by 2027, what can the industry do to kind of attract, support and retain not just the young talent, but maybe people who want a career change and want to explore the construction industry as a new option, really? So what can the industry do better?
Instead of what we're finding at the moment, especially if you look on the CSCS card of things, which is also going to be a big killer in this industry, is the new approach, especially for the stone industry, is you need an MVQ. And we're talking about thousands of people who are very skilled workers having to go back to school, essentially, which is something they won't do. And it's just a different approach to that would keep a lot of people that we have in this industry, and then focusing more on, well, if that worked for the people that are already skilled workers, what can we do to assess what's coming up? Because a lot of people in this industry at the lower levels aren't education focused, they're more a hands-on approach. And if there was a way in through that way, you'd probably get a lot more people involved. And also just a willingness to see how people work. And then a lot of people don't have people skills, so it's just working out what skills they have and what they can bring in. And if we could all focus on that, which there's a lot of us trying in the background with this, but is trying to just focus on different ways to get everyone involved. And if you can do it that way, then it does bring more of a team effort in. And a lot of people, when they join a team, they don't want to leave because they feel like they're being supported and that they're part of something a lot bigger. And teamwork as well, I feel, is another big thing that if we as an industry can look at, you'd keep more people settled here for a longer time.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, that does go back to working in a supportive environment. If you've got an environment where you're constantly learning, you're being supported, you're working on interesting projects, then that's exactly what you want. You always want to progress your career, or you always want to further your career. And if you're in an environment that's doing that, then that is the best environment for you. Going back to some of our guests, they were 8 years in one job that they didn't really like, but thought they had to stick it out, but then realized after leaving that there was a lot of different options available for them. So just if you're stuck in a little bit of a rut, if you're stuck not really learning or progressing your career and want to change, make that bold step. There's companies out there that, like Superior Stone, that are willing to support, train and develop you as well. So yeah, I think that's a really good point that you touched on there as well, Mary. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been great to hear from kind of a specialist stone contractor as well. Sounds like you've got some incredible projects, including the Bat Cave. So yeah, it'll be great to get involved working on that and maybe go for a site visit one day. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on as a guest, and yeah, it's been really enjoyable speaking to you.
Thank you so much.
Brilliant. All right, thanks very much, Mary. Take care.
Cheers.
Thank you for joining us on the Building Your Career podcast. We hope you enjoyed hearing from our guest and learning about the different career paths available. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe so we can reach even more listeners. And if anyone wants any free CV advice or simply wants to know the options available to them, don't hesitate to get in touch.